Breathe, first and foremost, is a song about grieving. You've lost someone, whether to death or separation, and Breathe pleads for you to not lose yourself during this time of heartbreak. The song is specifically inspired by the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, so the first step was to study up on the myth. My primary source ended up being Orpheus, the Song of Life by Anne Rowe, but I also studied works by Rilke and Robert Graves. The hard part about writing the song for me was that I had so much to say that I ended up writing about 3.5 versions of the song before I settled on Breathe. Don't look back, your love is gone. Don't look back, time to move on. The most challenging part for me was fully composing the musical accompaniment and recording it, and frankly, I would have never been able to complete it were it not for the help of my co-composer Bryn, percussionist Sarah Durden, and the tech support of David Alonso. There are specific references to the gods Hades, king of the underworld, Thanatos, god of death, Hypnos, god of sleep, and Hermes, guider of souls. But beyond that, I wanted the song to be as universal and modernly applicable as possible, with more specific details to the myth shown in the music video. In Orpheus, the Song of Life by Anne Rowe, Orpheus is often compared to a songbird. Keeping this detail in mind, I put feathers at the end of Orpheus's belt, and he wears a wooden feather necklace at the end of the video. This is also why Hades wears a bird skull around his neck in the House of Hades scene. Orpheus is a child of Apollo, god of the sun. We reference this with Orpheus's sun tattoo, and by dressing him in gold details. Anne Rowe states that Orpheus's garb had no specific color in myth, but poets tend to dress him in blue. Thus we dressed our Orpheus in a blue toga. If Orpheus is a child of the sun, I felt it appropriate for Eurydice to be a child of the moon, especially considering that in some myths she is a tree nymph who got awoken into life by Orpheus's music, and from then on she was always in a state of half-slumber, never quite fully alive. This reference to her as the moon is in the song itself, but it is also reflected in costume by the faded color of her toga in comparison to that of Orpheus. The Fates are hardly written about, except for their titles and duties, but I took that minimal information and ran with it. Clotho, also known as the Spinner, spins the thread of life. She is the youngest of the Fates and is essentially the creator of life, prophesizing and deciding when each life is born into the world. Considering her affiliation with birth, I connected her to spring and the element of earth. Kayla then incorporated this into Helena's makeup design using liquid latex to create a tree root pattern. Lachesis, also known as the portioner of lots, measures the thread of life. The detail that struck me the most about this fate during my studies is that she has a measuring staff, which she uses to point at the horoscope with as well as measure with. In this detail, I immediately drew the conclusion that she works with the zodiac to decide how long someone lives. I then connected her as a sort of star goddess to space and the element of air, which Ash incorporated into their makeup design. Atropos, also known as she who cannot be turned, cuts the thread of life. If Clotho was spring, Atropos had to be winter. As the eldest crone figure, what she says is law as she ends lives in a cold, unloving demeanor. She was my ice queen, which Kayla reflected in Hattie's makeup design. For the video, the first step for me was to bring an impeccable cast and crew on board. By the final product, we had 16 cast members and 4 crew members, which easily made this the biggest production I had ever worked on. The music video would not have been possible without Kayla, who was my co-director, makeup artist, Thanatos double, and prop co-designer. And were it not for my props manager and co-designer, Bryn, we wouldn't have had a lyre for Orpheus. She made that prop from scratch. By hand.
Really great. Man, you're doing really great.
You're welcome, Harry. Amazing. Fling. Dave was also a huge help with both tech and props, designing Hermes' snake sash, Atropos' knife, and with Kayla's help, Atropos' crown. I myself crafted the Fate's staff, Orpheus's belt, and Hermes' shoes, staff, and headpiece. So these are Hermes' shoes, or well, they're going to be Hermes' shoes for the Orpheus shoot. And I mean, this is the before. They're pretty old, pretty grimy, and I just scrubbed this one for like 10 minutes. And it's slightly better, but I don't know if you can see, it's still just really, it's not a dramatic difference. So the only way that I know how to make this anywhere near better is to just soak them. So I'm drawing a bath for my shoes, essentially. That's what I'm getting at. I'm drawing a bath for a pair of shoes. Behind the scenes. It's kind of artistic. Put an inspirational quote here. Prep updates. I cleaned and bleached the heck out of the shoes, and then I did 2 coats of gold spray paint, and now they're looking more Hermes-like. Very nice. And I found this awesome branch out in the forest, and it's going to be the staff for one of the fates who measures the thread of life. So I drew lines every inch. Now I am carving where the lines are and burning the lines to make it look a little more natural. Such a big cast and crew, I felt it important to have a shooting schedule. After receiving everyone's school and personal schedules, I coordinated the master shooting schedule around that. I then wrote out personalized schedules for each of the 18 cast and crew members, telling them the who, what, where, as well as details, and a list of things to bring to set for every day they were shooting. Once those were done, I printed out the master schedule, personal schedule, and music video script, stapled them together, and delivered the packets to each of the cast and crew members. Unfortunately, due to personal reasons, my original lead actors for Orpheus and Eurydice had to drop out of the project the day we had planned to start shooting. But I was determined to carry on, so by the end of the same day, I had recasted and rewritten the shooting schedule. We ended up wrapping the video only 2 days ahead of the original intended schedule. The only real issue with this recasting brought about ultimately was that I was then the lead actress, head director, writer, costume manager, singer-songwriter, schedule coordinator, casting director, artistic supervisor, and tech manager, and had to juggle all of these positions for 7 days straight of filming, with time spent working adding up to at least 5 hours a day, usually way more. At one point, I was working on the storyboard when I decided to take a nap, but when I woke up again, I realized I was trying to storyboard in my sleep. I couldn't even escape work in my dreams. But at the end of the day, all of the work and the struggle was so worth it because I am so proud of this project. At the premiere screening for the cast and crew, when the music video ended and we turned on the lights, Kayla and Bryn were crying. And though I don't like to see my friends cry, it was massively reassuring that my artwork can touch people's hearts like that. I hope that people find comfort and solace in my psalm, and enjoy the music video that I poured my heart and soul into. If you have taken the time to watch it and this behind the scenes video, thank you. I appreciate you and wish you all the best.